What McDonald's looks for from its agencies is really the thought partnership. We work together with them to come up with ideas that'll drive their business. So we work with creative people here that come up with the commercial ideas, the creative ideas, the ads that you see on TV, the banners, the print ads, the out-of-home ads, whatever. But before those get developed, there has to be an idea about marketing, and that is to sell a new product, to target a new group of customers, and that's what we work on with our clients. So coming up with marketing opportunities that will drive more sales and get more people going to McDonald's more often.
And if I ask you, how do you know a certain marketing communications program made a difference? I mean, was it that or something else?
Boy, there's as many answers to that as there are marketing programs probably, but we are very keyed in on results. It's just a matter of what the results are for a given program, and I'll give you an example. On McDonald's, when we started working with them, they were very narrowly focused on more sales and more visits by customers. But we've worked with them over the years to say that there are other things that affect the long-term health of your business, like consumer perceptions, ratings on things like a company I trust or my favorite restaurant. So I guess the way I would put it is $1 of extra sales might not be as valuable as the same dollar when that same dollar is purchased by somebody who all of a sudden loves McDonald's, is going there with their family, is recommending that to their friends. And we want to have a richer way to evaluate our success. It can be attitude adjustments, it can be perceptual changes. Nowadays it can be recommending to a friend. And of course it can be, I went to McDonald's one more time, or I spent $1 more at McDonald's. And that's just McDonald's. So there are a number of different metrics that we can get into with a McDonald's, whereas with a company like Bell Brands, that is a consumer packaged goods, we're very particular about market share and both growing the category and growing the share of our category. In addition to that, we have metrics on awareness, and are we increasing awareness over time. So there's a number of different things we do. And I guess the bottom line is you have to figure out what matters to the client's business and make sure that you're measuring what matters.
Okay, so if I can ask you again, just to
Sure.
go back on McDonald's.
Yeah.
Is it a global account or is it a local account?
Yes. McDonald's is global in nature, and we work with McDonald's all around the world. So DDB works with McDonald's in 34 different countries. That said, I call it more of a multinational account because it's 34 different countries that are marketing McDonald's in partnership with our local agencies. So while it's a global account, for us it's 34 different client agency businesses trying to drive sales in a given market.
And they look at the product set today versus what it is, and not the communications part of it,
Right.
at the tangible level.
Yeah.
Has it changed a lot?
Oh, dramatically. Yeah, I started to talk about that earlier, but they are creating many more options, is probably the headline, is that there's a lot more choice at McDonald's than there was 10 years ago. And that choice is driven by consumer needs and wants, and what people are looking for today and have been looking for more and more over the course of those 10 years are healthy options, more variety, better options for kids, and better options for women.
Okay, and what other information sources or what other information content do you really need to prioritize to know well so that you can do your account management work at McDonald's well?
Well, I think that we've been talking a lot about a thorough understanding of the customer, and I think that's first and foremost. I think there are other things that you have to analyze in order to find those marketing opportunities like I was talking about before. And one of them is the category or the competition. So what are other competitors doing that may take business away from McDonald's? And then I would say the other is more broadly consumer trends and where customers are going. So even 10 years ago, we knew that a healthier mindset was certainly on the horizon, and that's why McDonald's has done a lot of the things that they've done. But in addition to that, the overall environment in which they operate has changed dramatically. And you look at some of the government regulations or even some of these organizations that we call NGOs or non-government organizations that are essentially lobbying or special interest groups that have had a lot to do with popular opinion And McDonald's has addressed all of those things going into this trend for more and healthier options for mom and her family.
Okay. So now that we have the profile, which is what I was interested in as
Okay.
background information, so this is year 2010.
Yep.
At the end of the year, how do you know you did an excellent job in account management?
Well, we have a couple of things. One, we have a client, and the client grades us. It's just like having a professor, and we make recommendations to our client, but they're the ones that have to approve it. So it's just like working on a project in grad school, and you think you've done a good job, but there's a professor that issues a grade and tells you whether you've done a good job or not. So we work all year, and we make recommendations, we develop programs, we create advertisements for McDonald's, and we say to them, this is what we think you should do. And at the end of the year, they say, you've done a great job. Or they say, well, you could do a little bit better on this front. So that's one metric, if you will, that agencies use to determine whether they've done a good job. That's very important, but probably even more important is the impact in the marketplace. And so it goes to the results that our ideas are achieving for our client. So as an example, if McDonald's were launching a new chicken sandwich, and that was our assignment, they're going to have certain business objectives and consumer awareness objectives for the launch of a new chicken sandwich. Did we meet those? Did our ideas, if they wanted to increase sales by $10, did we increase by 12 or did we increase by 8? And 12 is a lot better than 8. So those are probably the two primary metrics against we're always evaluated.
Okay. And if you look at the other part of it, which is that there are a whole lot of other reasons why a brand would do well or not.
Right.
So how do you reconcile that versus one aspect of it?
Well, I guess that comes into the overall evaluation of a given program, and you can track things. So I just gave you an example about sales, and there can be other things that come in and limit your success. But sometimes it sort of tends to be tough luck. You know what I mean? If you tried to get $10 worth of sales and there was a disastrous weather winter, let's just use the U.S., and sales in the northern part of the U.S. were below, and it's because of snow, tough. You didn't meet your objective. And there are times, and actually I encourage this, despite the fact that there's a lot outside of our control, the bottom line is we will do well when our ideas work for our clients. And there are a lot of initiatives underway to tie our performance, or our revenue, our compensation, to the success of these programs. And I'm all for that, because no matter that there are things outside of our control, we're still going to do better if our clients do better, and we might as well share in that success.
If you're looking at the USA specifically now,
Yeah.
okay, let's if you just kind of categorize how many people and what types of people you have working on the McDonald's account full-time and
Okay.
also part-time.
Let's see. I would say full-time we have roughly, I would say 40 people full-time, and then another 40 to 50 part-time. So it all rolls together into essentially 65 or so. That's a guesstimate because I haven't been on the U.S. business for a number of years, but.
Okay, how about the global business then in total?
You know what, we never tally that up because it's literally 34 different agencies working on it. But if you, the U.S. is easily the largest country for McDonald's, both in terms of the overall sales. It's roughly half of the worldwide sales. So Germany and Australia are two other of the top 10 McDonald's countries that we have. If you say there are 25 or 30 in each of those countries, because they're also quite large. But then there are smaller businesses that you could say there might be 5 or 10 people working on it in a given one of those countries. So if I were ballparking it, you add it all up, 150 to 200 people all around the world.
And what types of people, like what proportion are copywriters versus creative directors, et cetera?
It's primarily, our agency splits into 3 primary functions. So account management, creative, and strategic planning. or consumer insights, whatever you want to call that. That third group, they change their name quite often, so it's harder to keep track of those guys. But the people that are in charge of consumer trends, consumer insights, are currently called our strategic planning group. Let's see there. So the two largest groups are account management and creative, and I would say those are roughly 40% each, and then strategic planners would be roughly 20% each of a given organization's headcount.
So within the account management area, what do you do day to day?
You work with clients and then work with the agency team. It's really that simple, and then each one is quite complex within it. So you're working with your client on their given area of responsibility. So let's just say an account executive could be working on our new product development team with a client who is in charge of launching a chicken sandwich. The two of them would be working day in and day out about ideas that will help that launch. And it becomes very complex because there's all sorts of aspects to that launch. There's getting the product right. There's the positioning of the product that leads to a communication strategy, which leads to an idea. That stuff we're very involved in. But our clients also have many responsibilities, whether it be how should I handle pricing of a given new product launch? How do I first find some, in the case of McDonald's, a smaller group of restaurants that I want to test that product in. I want to make sure that I've not created a product that's impossible to execute in a given restaurant location. Well, if we're going to put it into some restaurants, we have to get people in those restaurants to order it. So we probably have to put some signs up, new chicken sandwiches here at the McDonald's at First and Main. So that's sort of the client side. You're working with your client, and it's always a marketing client, on their area of responsibility and how can you help them succeed. Just to finish that thought, once you and while you work with the client about how the client can be most successful, it's the account person's job to figure out how the agency can be most successful in helping that client. So you may have worked with the client to say, you know what, we've got to promote this chicken sandwich and drive awareness on within 5 days of launch, we need 80% of the people knowing that this sandwich is there. Well, in order to do that, we better have ideas that are in television, that are online, that are in out of home, that are in print, that are on radio, what have you. So you're designing the agency's contribution to the client's responsibilities.